I'm banned for life on TikTok Live. Well, they said they thought I was trying to sell sex on the internet. Like, imagine playing a video game and then they're like, oh no, you're a prostitute afterwards.
I see that. What's up, guys? Today we have the one and only Ike Shehadeh, the owner and founder of Ike Sandwiches. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's so crazy. So, like, you own Ike Sandwiches, which has over 120 locations across the nation, but you're also like the face of the brand because it has like your basically your logo is like it's a face, which is very, very cool.
Yeah. In fact, on the way here in the car, the guy picks me up.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, are you Ike from Ike's Lovin' Sandwiches? I go, yeah. He's like, I freaking love your place. And then earlier, that was today in Honolulu, and 2 days ago in Kona, somebody's like, wait, are you Ike? Like, what are you doing here? So,
yeah, I mean, like, it's so iconic. I mean, like, your brand's well known across the nation. You guys are kind of like as far as sandwiches goes, right? And so everybody loves these sandwiches, but it's cool to actually see like you in person next to the logo because like it really is you, you know?
Well, a lot of folks talk about branding and how I got into the logo, because I didn't start with the logo as our logo. It was a different logo prior with my face as the logo. And what I saw was people, because it's called Ike's, in the beginning were kept asking us who Ike was. Are you Ike? Are you Ike? So low key, I just got sick and tired of people asking if I was Ike. So put the logo on as my face and changed the logo. And so people wouldn't come in and go, hey, who's Ike? They'd go instead to, hey, are you Ike? And
it's kind of like a convenience thing for you. People could quit asking like who Ike is.
Yeah, we get who is Ike over 100 times a day. My first location, we were serving 1,200 people a day, and it'd be like, hey, who's Ike? Hey, who's Ike? Hey, who's Ike? Are you Ike? Are you Ike? And so
you guys are opening up a new franchise here on the Big Island.
Yeah.
And each of your franchises makes about like how much does each franchise make? Is it?
Yeah. So right now the average is a little bit over $1 million.
Each franchise that you open averages a little over $1 million, and you got 120 of them.
Yes.
How many of them are yours, and how many of them are franchised to other people?
So right now, I own like 101 restaurants, and then so it's like 19 franchise units. But I'm franchised for myself. I'm my biggest franchisee. So I have the company, and then I create a new entity and either bring in a partner, family member, or a friend, or just someone else as a business partner, and then we just license for myself.
So somebody wants to, let's say, like, hey, I love the sandwiches. I like to open up a Ike's franchise. What does that process to you look like?
Well, first, I'm going to ask him this question. What's your favorite sandwich? And depending on what they answer, then
well done.
Step 2.
What does that? What if he says my favorite sandwich is Subway, but I like to open at Ike's?
I'd be like, you got to go eat at Ike's first.
Okay. So let's say my favorite sandwich is Ike's. What's like the next?
Well, I'd ask them what's their favorite sandwich at Ike's?
Oh, it's so favorite sandwich at Ike's.
Oh, yeah. And so they would, and then they'll tell me, and we'll have a conversation around that, and then I'll know if they're a fit right away. Okay. And then the next steps after that would be probably the most similar to everyone else.
So what are you looking for in that conversation?
It depends. Like, there's not one answer that I'm looking for, or even one interaction that I'm looking for. It's going to be how they relate to the sandwich, what's the reason why they like the sandwich, and then I'd follow up with, well, how come you want to open up an Ike's? And those two questions, I feel like I can predict 99% whether they're going to be successful or not. Yeah, even if they've never been in business before, or even if they've had 100 locations.
So I mean, like, what? That's really interesting. Like, from two questions. So what do you look? Is it the way they articulate themselves? Is it like the actual answer matter?
Well, I don't really want like somebody to try to hack the system. So we could talk about.
Okay.
We could talk about the answers later. But what I noticed is, so about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a big franchisee of a few different brands. Like, he's a professional franchisee, and he has maybe not 100 locations, but around that, like 80, 90, something like a lot of locations. Not that he didn't have the capacity or capability. And I asked him these questions, and then the interview, or whatever you want to talk it, the meet and greet, our meeting went for about 50 minutes, 55 minutes. You get off the phone, and my person that set it up was like, oh, dude, wasn't he great? He's got this. And I was like, nah, we're not doing it with him. And then I went through and asked him and told him why. I go, he wasn't, it wasn't about the brand. It was just about like, oh, well, let me go and accumulate more. Look, there's so many ways that you can make money. Heck, you can go and whatever a crappy sandwich brand is out there, which there are several that are really famous and that their company's worth a lot. You can just go buy 20 of those and you'll make money for sure. Almost assuredly if you get 20 of them. So we're not in the going out and making money business, even though we absolutely want to make money. We're in the going out and we love and then sandwiches. Like if we want to focus on those two things, knowing that if we focus on those two things, the money will come. But the other way is not necessarily true because you can go in and like, what's your least favorite sandwich brand or one that you don't hold in high regard?
I don't know. I don't know a whole lot. How many brands? Let's say Burger King.
Okay, there you go. Right, so Burger King. And by the way, I like Whopper, Junior Whoppers with cheese, mayo, everything on there, including the onions. So I'm not going to disparage Burger King, but I will say you're not a big fan of Burger King, and probably a lot of other people are. Like I don't know how well they're doing, but obviously they're not as successful as McDonald's, right? But if you open up 20 Burger Kings, you're going to make money. So if the goal is to make money, then you could just even you.
Yeah.
You not being a big fan of Burger King, you could just open up 20 Burger Kings and make money. So if your goal is to make money, there's a lot of things you can do to make money. So that's not what we're looking to do when we get with our partners. Although I absolutely want them to make money. We want to make love and we want to make sandwiches. In that order too. We want to make sure we love everybody. And then, like say we're opening up in Kona. We just opened up in New Orleans and I'm there personally passing out food.
Okay, wow.
People are coming in and going like, wow, the service is really great. And then they take this bite of the sandwich and then like, oh my gosh, I love the sandwich. Do we think that's going to, yeah. Of course that location is going to be successful. Same here when we open up in Kona. People are going to be like, the service is great. There's a lot of love in there. And then they're going to take a bite of the sandwich. And then they're going to do the advertising for us. Versus a brand like Burger King, or heck, even McDonald's, even though they're like one of the greatest businesses of all time, people probably aren't doing word of mouth advertising for McDonald's in 2025.
That's really interesting. I think it's like the customer acquisition cost, right? Like the more that you have like a goodwill and like referrals, it kind of builds upon itself. And then like so your lead cost goes way down, but then like your sales go higher just because like the product is so good by itself.
Yeah,
but I also love the fact that you want people who love the product because I think there's a couple other franchises that do this. I think like Chick-fil-A or H&M or something. These guys were like they only have somebody where they're invested into the product itself. And so when you have somebody who's invested into the product, as long as you give them the guidelines to be successful, it's almost like given that they'll be successful. But the other way around, like you said, doesn't work because if they just go after the money, if there is a challenge or other things, that's when like I'll drop off in the operator.
Yeah. In fact, here, I'm about to give you a viral quote, all right? I don't like In-N-Out Burger at all. Now, do I know if I open up 20 of them, will I make millions? Yes, but I wouldn't personally open up In-N-Out Burger because I'm not a fan of the product. I think what they do, like they're one of the greatest ever when it comes to service. I just can't get around that I don't like their product. So, you can do whatever you do with that. Like Ike said he hates In-N-Out Burger, like I don't hate them, but I personally wouldn't franchise from them. So in fact, they should, even though I'm a great operator and I'm going to give great service, in that scenario, Internet, and I don't think In-N-Out actually offers franchises, but if they did, they shouldn't let me franchise from them. I mean, unless they're going to use dirty sauce, and then maybe we can talk. So, but that's exactly like how it is. For me, if you're going to come in and go, can we make money building Ike's? Yeah, absolutely. But if you're not in alignment with the product, then the goal shouldn't be to make money. The goal should be to do the love part and the sandwiches part, and then you'll make as much money as you want.
Well, I mean, obviously something you're doing is working because you expanded to 120 different locations. How long did it take you to get to that point?
So this is year 8. We're like 17 and a half years in. So we become legal this year, 18, on Halloween.
But it's crazy because like you're the owner and the founder, and to kind of see how you've grown so far in such a short period of time. I mean, was there obviously there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of lessons learned through that process. But how did you kind of get started from the very beginning?
Like which part? There's so many parts to getting started.
Well, I mean, let's say like the opening your first franchise. Like, what did it take? How did you come up with the idea, and like how did like that first location actually like go about getting like started?
Cool. So it was 2006. How I got started is there I was in 2006. And I did not enjoy the jobs that I had. I had 3 jobs at the time, actually, and kind of like between 4 jobs. I had a 4th job, or I had 3 jobs, and then I quit one and then started another one. So I had 3 jobs again, but over 4 jobs.
Three jobs at the same time?
At the same time, yeah, at the same time. For me, so what I noticed
Each one
is...
does 2 jobs.
Yeah, I was a real estate agent as one of them. So when I became a real estate agent, obviously it's not a W-2 job, but I was working at Trader Joe's. I was working at Victoria's Secret. I was working at one of my roommate at the time. His dad just opened up a fine dining restaurant in Palo Alto, and he said, "Hey, I need a bartender." And I'm thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a bartender? Like, don't bartenders get to mingle and all these other things? So I was working there too. So all of those jobs were paychecks.
4 jobs at the same time.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Okay.
I was working 7 days a week between 3 jobs, and then I quit one of the jobs. I quit Trader Joe's, and then Victoria's Secret, and then I added real estate, and so then I still had 3 jobs, and in that process, I saw that I really loved interacting with people as a bartender. Like, I was the worst bartender in Palo Alto, still probably to this day. Give me an award for worst bartender, but I really like talking to the people and seeing what they wanted, help them pick what they wanted. When I worked at BB before, and I helped people pick outfits. And if you know what that is, it's a women's ready-to-wear women's line, BB. I don't think they have brick and mortars that many anymore, but at the time I did. And Victoria's Secret, obviously you probably know what that is. And they'd come in, and what I saw was in the process of doing all these other places, even though, like Victoria's Secret and BB, both of those are women's lines. I don't know anything about that, but I saw that I wanted to research, like, why does this bra work? I would talk to my sister or my friends.
Just because we wanted to serve the customer. Yeah, so you had like a genuine curiosity because you want to become like a better server to like the customer.
Exactly. So somebody would come in, and I'd just ask my sister, why did she wear this bra? Or my friends, why did they wear that bra? The ladies I was dating, why do you wear that bra? And then they would say, oh, I wear this bra because it's good for running. I wear this one because it's strapless and I can wear a dress. I wear this one because it's comfortable. I wear this one to bed. And some people I don't wear one to bed. So I was like, okay, well, all this stuff I didn't know about it, right? Same with women's fashion. Like, I would start studying fashion because I want to make sure when she would come in and be like, hey, I wanted to, I need this outfit for this reason, or this bra, and this is what I'm looking for. I could say, even though I'm not a user of the product, I'm like, oh, well, my sister uses this bra because when she runs, it helps.
So when you're becoming an expert in that topic of what you're selling.
Yeah, and so I saw that in the businesses that I worked at, and the business that in the areas that I liked. And there was other businesses that I worked at that I didn't like them, so I didn't do that same research. So for me, I was able to identify even from long ago, like 20-something years ago, that, oh, it matters if you like what you do. And it doesn't mean like the actual whole part of the job, but the parts of the job that you do like, that I liked, I was really good at those things. So I gave great service, whether it was selling bras or at Trader Joe's selling a loaf of bread to you.
Is you're like, it's like you're tapping into like an instant motivation or instant kind of like power factor over there, because like I even like talking to like team members over here is like, if they really like Excel, right, or they really like project management, if they're doing something that they're passionate about, they're naturally gonna be spending more time and energy thinking about it, trying to get better at their craft, just because they actually enjoy the process of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it actually becomes your superpower there, because you're gonna just do whatever it took.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret didn't pay me extra because I went and interviewed my sister and my friends and the girls that I was dating, and I didn't get any money for the research that I did on them. Same with fashion. I didn't get paid for reading through books and going, oh, well, teal's really in this season, or whatever. I mean, I kind of remember like going through magazines and seeing what was going on. For me, it was I did that, and then I got paid for it because then I got a raise at work. I got paid for it because actually at BB, we worked on commission. So if I learned about fashion and then you bought an extra jacket for me, I did make extra money. And I think a lot of folks, they don't see that. And they don't go like, oh, if I put in the extra effort. But the thing is, it wasn't actually effort. So I probably used the wrong word. If I found where I was passionate about what I was selling already, or the business already,
actual work,
and then just did more focus in that area, for sure, there's no doubt. Like I worked at Victoria's Secret for minimum wage at the time, and in California it was $8 an hour at the time. Within 3 months, I got an $8 an hour raise. I basically got double the pay. And it wasn't because of anything other than I was going in there and I was more knowledgeable, and instead of buying one bra, you'd buy three. Or even when guys would come in and they don't know anything about bras, I'm like, oh, dude, I'll show you the way. Like, what do you want? Oh, you want her to look sexy? Boom. Do you? Oh, she told you she needs something for bed? Boom. And the guys were like, yeah, so I'll just buy like all the bras from Ike instead of going and talking to.
I mean, there's a couple of things you're hitting on. One is like the how you're is like naturally motivated, but it's also to come from a place of education and value. I think whenever you give people value or educate them, they naturally are, hey, whatever you have to say, I think of you as an authority, and I want to like buy your stuff or listen to your advice for you. So whenever you're like, hey, even for in our industry, like whenever we have like meetups and things, like, hey, we want to give value or teach people things, a lot of times it ends up into a sale because like the way that you're going about it is you're trying to provide value to the person.
Exactly. And so that was a long way of me saying, well, I noticed that about myself. So I wrote down a list specifically of what other areas would I do this naturally. And so I pulled out a piece of paper, and I was up because I saw that that even though I was getting raises here and there, and on Victoria, I remember at BB at one point I was making almost $100 an hour in commission.
Wow, really? That's pretty.
Especially during during the holidays, for sure, I'd make like $100, 90 to like $110 an hour.
That's crazy.
During the holidays for like 3 months or whatever. So I saw that even though there was some upside, there wasn't maximum upside. And I was like, oh, I could do the same thing, but for myself. So I started thinking, well, I should get into business for myself and then multiply the areas of my life that I was really enthused about helping people in. And then, because I knew already from my results that I would study about cooking or study about how to take care of cats or whatever.
Naturally interested in it, and you start business in it, it would be like the work would be fun for you, and you would look next year.
It would actually not be work. I know it's so super cliche. Find something that you love and you never work in your life. Now go move it back a few steps. Do the things that you love, and then you'll end up getting paid for them because you'll do them so well, and you'll be a genius in that area and so creative. So using that understanding of myself, I made a list of things that I would have felt similarly about. And remember the list because there was 37 things on this list.
37 things.
One of the things, like literally the first thing I wrote was going on dates. Like it was the first thing. The second thing I wrote was snuggling baby animals. The third thing I wrote was eating. So I'm talking about like things. When I made this list, I wanted to be an exhaustive list of things that I already loved doing that I feel like I can apply the same.
Focus your energy. Oh, there's an energy.
Yeah, but I also wanted to make sure it was things that I actually did, because I know that there's a lot of times you, people listening, say they want to do something or say they really like something, but then they don't actually go and do it. Like if you say, oh, I love traveling, and you never travel, then like you wouldn't put. I didn't put traveling on the list because I literally didn't travel, even though I like traveling. Yeah.
So the idea of it, but once you actually do it, you don't know if that.
You don't know, right? So now I travel almost every week, for sure every month, multiple trips. So now I go, well, I love traveling. But back in 2006, I couldn't say that I like traveling because I traveled like once a year, and I don't know if I liked it. Maybe I just liked Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe I just liked San Diego, right? I don't know if I like traveling or I just like the cities that I went to. So after I wrote down 37 things on this list, and I went through all the things on the list and was like, hey, if I was going to make money doing these things, what would I do? So like for going on dates, I was like, oh, I could actually be a gigolo or something. Like, so I wrote that as a thing. I wrote, oh, I could be a dating coach. And I wrote that I could write a book about dating, or I had some cool stories. I dated a few celebrities back then and now. So back then I was like, oh, they had some pretty interesting stories. Maybe I'll write a book. And so for each thing I wrote down.
So each other 37 goes like a list of things, a way that you can monetize. Yes. Okay.
The things that I was already doing. So I wasn't looking for how I could make money traveling and making money, because I didn't have traveling on the list. But I was like, hey, I would snuggle every cat. Like if there's a cat right now, like how many cats I have seen walking over to when I was walking in Waikiki, I saw like 2 cats. I was like, hey, let me pet you, right? I like cats. Hey, if there was puppies, I'd probably do the same thing, or chickens or whatever. So I was like, how can I make money snuggling animals? And I even wrote, well, I could be an animal blogger. I was like, oh, I could Google where what zoo in the United States is about to have a baby? Like, oh, there's a pregnant kangaroo in Chicago. Let me go and fly to Chicago and take pictures and do an animal blog.
So creative. I like how you're really thinking outside the box. You start with the 37 on like the basically non-negotiable, and then you're adding like you're creatively brainstorm this thing. How can I actually turn this thing into like an actual job or actual business?
Yeah, because for me, I was already gonna do these things. Like if I saw, like I said, if I saw a cat, which it did, it was an orange one. I was like trying to pet him. Like I'm gonna do that for free. So why not try to monetize that? In fact, a lot of folks that when I talk to them or when they come and ask me for advice, whether they're artists or they have a business, and they'll say, "Well, I don't really want to do that because then I won't love it anymore." Like, oh, if I have to make, especially artists, actually, this is where I hear a lot because I'm in New Orleans now, and prior to that, I was in San Francisco, and there's a lot of artists in those cities, whether they're art or singers or and all the above, LA too. And so they would come up to me and go, "Well, I don't really want to monetize my art because then I won't love it anymore. Or it'll turn into a headache for me." And I was like, "Wait, that doesn't make any sense. What's do you have an animal or do you have a kids?" And I asked them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I have a puppy." I was like, "Would you ever get sick and tired of hanging out with your puppy?" No. What if I give you $100 to hang out with your puppy? Would you be like, "Oh no, now I'm sick and tired of it"? No. How much money and how many times do you have to hang out with your dog before you like get sick and tired of it? They're like, never. That would never happen. Okay, because you love your dog and you love hanging out with your dog. Do you see how now that means that you actually don't love your art? You do it as a side thing, or
It's fun, but it's not. It's not. You don't love.
you don't love it. You just do it like as a de-stressor or whatever. And they don't like it when I say that. In fact, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, "No, that's not true." No, it is true, because do the same example right now. Like, who's your best friend? If I paid you $1 million to hang out with your friend, would you get sick and tired of hanging out with your friend? You probably wouldn't. You'd be like, "Yes, I'll hang out with my friend. Can I hang out with them again for another $1 million?" Right?
Or this actually happened to me because I was like a big poker fan. I used to play a lot of poker with my buddies. And I was like, "Oh, poker's like the best. Let me try and become a professional poker player." So I actually started like, they call it being a grinder, where you just go into rooms, you just play for hours.
I just play. Yeah.
And then like after a while, like, dude, like it's not even fun anymore because like it becomes like a job. Like, you're not just, you can't just have fun. It's like you have to like try and make your thing, and it just becomes stressful. Like, basically turned into like was a fun hobby into like a job, which is not fun anymore. So I was like, wow, there's a huge switch that happened once I became like something that I had to do.
So the same thing too. And I bet you if every time you played you made like $5 million, you'd be like, "Yeah, I love playing," right? Yeah. So there's also there's that too. But exactly what you said, because I went out and I played poker as well professionally. Like I was paying my rent with playing card games, and yeah. And so for me, it was a job, and I really liked it.
Okay.
But I definitely, the part I didn't like personally was the losing part, obviously.
Ups and downs this way, right?
So it's like the ups and downs. But for me, because I enjoyed it and I enjoyed the strategy, I could go back and play poker right now. And I don't know how long it would take for me to get sick of it, because I did it professionally and I actually didn't get sick of it, even though I didn't make enough to like make me like, I'm not a professional poker player now. It was just for rent and food and things like that. So, but we all have all those things. Now I don't play poker anymore, so I probably couldn't say that I love playing poker, because based on results, I don't. But for me, it was, once I looked at this list of these 37 things, I was like, and I started writing how to make money. I was like, oh, I think I should open up a restaurant. Like, I didn't think I should open up a restaurant. I looked at this list and I was like, I should probably do that, because I enjoyed cooking. Like, so a lot of the areas of my life where I was writing stuff out, it involved serving people. So I was like, okay, well, I like serving people. It involved being creative in the kitchen, and like so many of the ideas that I had. I was like, oh, one of the ways I could make money snuggling animals was I could make, like the health pet food was becoming a thing. I was like, I could just make really healthy dog food, cat food, whatever, turtle food, and then people, like, I'd see a lot of cats, and then people, I'd be able to pet everybody's cat, and like they'd come and pay me, or they'd bring their dog in. I'm like, here's your treat, and so I was looking at the areas of my life, even the non-food related ones, like for humans, and I was like, man, I should probably open up a restaurant. So that's how I got like actually started.
So how did you get started? Like, because then when you're decide to open a restaurant, there's so many restaurants you get. You can fine dining, you do like a franchise, Ozzy sold on like making sandwiches. How did you come up with that?
So for me, because yeah, you're right. Okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to open up a Michelin star restaurant or whatever, or or a coffee shop, and that's like kind of the things, or an ice cream shop, right, or whatever it would be, a dessert place. So I started researching because I pinned down I'm going to open up a restaurant. So for me, I was like, okay, well, what does it take to run a restaurant? So then I wrote out another list because I already knew now, okay, I'm going to try the restaurant thing. And in fact, the first thing I tried was writing a book on how to meet women online and get them to pay for the first date. That was my first venture from the list because I had number one on my list was getting dates. Like literally, it was the first thing that I wrote. It's why I ended up working at Victoria's Secret. It was like one of my highest priorities was to find dates. And even though my idea wasn't to work at Victoria's Secret, I ended up working at Victoria's Secret because my goal was to get dates. So even though that was my plan, that's where I ended up. So I was like, oh, I'm going to write a book on how to meet women online. And this was in 2006. So it was before, there was no apps. And it was kind of when meeting with people online was creepy. So I was like, if I wrote a book, hey, I can get you to go out on dates with women online and they would pay for the first date, you'd be like, oh, how do you do that? And I did that. So my goal was to go on 100 dates where 100 women would pay for the first date. That was the only parameters is we had to meet online and they had to pay for the first date. If we didn't meet online.
I want to do a whole session on this one. It sounds like
I learned so much about that in that process.
Real quick. How do you get the girls to pay for the first date?
Okay, so here's the hack right now, and it doesn't need to be from online now since it's like really mainstream now, but back then it was creepy. If you like people were like, "Are you going to murder me?" I'm like, "Maybe," you know. And so spoiler alert, I don't end up murdering anybody that I know of. And so for the hack is I would say somewhere in the interaction, it wouldn't be just the first thing I'd say, "Oh wow. So, when are you going to take me out to dinner?" And there was 3 answers. 100% of the time, 99.9% of the time. The rare time, one time I said, "Hey, so when are you going to take me out to dinner?" And the woman laughed in my face and then just left. So that was that one. But outside of that time, every other answer was one of these 3 answers. And I asked a lot of people. Like to get 100 dates, I had to ask probably like 500 people. And it was easy because I was at Victoria's Secret. So it was easy to get people to talk to. So most of the people, almost all of them, I don't know the exact percentages, although if I look at my book, I could tell you exactly, but I don't recall right now. Almost the vast majority of the answer was me take you out to dinner. You're supposed to take me out to dinner.
Okay, I feel that's what I would be.
That's what people would normally get. So now the thing is if they say that, you're like, okay, cool. Let me put her in the bucket of I can go out with her if I'm willing to pay. But that wasn't the goal of the book. So I was like, I put that on the side. Like, okay, but hey, maybe I'll ask her out later because I actually liked her. And some people I literally just asked out because I was trying to get to 100. And so maybe I wouldn't have put her in the bucket of I'll ask her out later. But so a rarer time, but not never, was they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll totally take you out.
Okay.
So those ones were like easy because I asked and they said they'll totally take me out. And
like you don't, you never know what you won't get.
And that was a small percentage. It was like 25%ish, which is still a big percent. If you ask 100 girls out when they're going to take you out to dinner and 25 of them said yes, you're going to be like, wow, that's a you'll take that.
5%.
Yeah, it was significantly more. You would think that, right?
Yeah.
I did the research, and it's way higher than I thought. So 25% of the time. So if you're out there, the hack is, when are you going to take me out to dinner? And 25% of the time, they're going to be like, sure, why not? Like, if you built up some rapport with them, right? And then the rest of the answers, which was depending on your rapport, would be like, oh, no, I'm never going to take you out to dinner. Like, no, absolutely not. And then that one person laughed and walked away, and I didn't even get an answer. So it was very small rejection rate because you have to understand that if you're there and you're doing rapport, you're probably going to get the first answer. Me take you out, you're supposed to take me out. Now, I had a response for that because I would get a lot of those. Like 50% of the girls would say that, maybe more would say that one. Well, I was like, well, that's one, I was broke, so I couldn't literally afford to take out 200 women even if I wanted to. Today I will, so if you're out there, I'll take you out. No, maybe not. But then what I manufactured as a response to that, because it's all about selling, right? Especially back then, is, hey, look, in this society, everybody expects the guy to, maybe not in 2025, but definitely back in 2006, people expect the guy to be the provider and to pay for everything and to do all those things. So, hey, look, if you take me out and we hit, we fall in love, or I like you, you make me like you, like you're gonna get the next 999 dinners for free. So this is, you buy one, you get for the price of one, you get 1,000 dinners, and so a lot of women were like, huh. Not like half of them, probably like 25% of the 50%. So now like 12.5% were like, oh, okay, yeah, I like that logic, sure. So I basically successfully converted close to 40% of the people that I asked, when are you going to take me out to dinner, into paying for the first date. So that was my first book. And then I did that book, but then it really didn't sell. And then I was also kind of like afraid to put it out because like, like it's creepy. Back then it was creepy to meet people online. So but I will say, because I would have done it for free, going out with girls and they're paying for the first date, I'll go that almost any time. I'll do that even today. So it was easy for me to do that and then put together a product. And then maybe if I had a great funnel, maybe it would have been better. When like I could have just like created heck, you know what? Why not? I have the book. Anybody know a good click funnel? Let's sell this book right now. We'll use a pen name. I won't say it's me. I'll say it's something else, and then we'll just throw that out there. So for there, then I decided after that was like, okay, I should open up a restaurant. And then so for me, I go, okay, I want to open up a restaurant, because your question was like why sandwiches or whatever, right? So for me, I was like, okay, what do I think, not knowing how to open up a restaurant, what do I think I need to do to open up a restaurant? And then I wrote another list. It was 17 things on the list. Well, I need a menu, obviously, so decide what I want. I need a location. I need some funding. I need to find out a wholesaler. I need a sign. I need a logo, and I wrote out 17 items. Okay. And then I just went to Google. And the first thing I did, because I wanted to figure out like the menu, I was like, oh, what kind of restaurant? I started looking at other things and looking at costs. And I saw that to do a full sit-down restaurant, like not even a cafe, but like a diner or something, then I needed a chef, I needed servers, I needed a host.
It increases
it increased the cost. So I saw that and I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is going to be counter service. Whatever I was going to come up with, I'm going to do counter service. So then I started researching counter service brands.
I like your thought cost to this. It's so logical, like the way you're breaking things down. Number one, like figure out what you're passionate about. You're making a list, and then you're sub-listing these things. Now, once you kind of chosen like that you want to go to a restaurant, now you're kind of like you're systematically breaking down like what the options are and why you should choose like the options that you chose.
Yeah, and I want to really point out for everybody, I did not know anything about opening a restaurant. It was literally what I thought I needed to do to open up a restaurant. Now, I wrote down 17 things. Now, it was way more than 17 things I needed, but I wrote down 17 things. But once I started going through the 17 things, I started going, oh, I need this, and then I added a thing, and I need this. But because I started on the path of what I thought I needed, and then now it's way easy. You could probably ask ChatGPT how to open up a restaurant, and it'll tell you how, right? So there's nobody has right now in 2025 an excuse to not move towards what they want. And you have to use that you're not moving towards what you want as an indication that you don't actually want that. So anybody out there that's like, well, I don't know how to open up a restaurant or start a paint place or any kind of business, just start with the brain dump of what do you think you need to do to get there? Because that's what I did. And then as I started researching, then I immediately ruled out, yeah.
This is really interesting because like even as like we have a lot of investors that reach out to us all the time, like, hey, I want to get started investing, what should I do, right? And so like I was like, hey, don't read this book and then come back to me. And then the people who are actually read the book and start taking the steps, the questions they ask are very different than somebody who doesn't read the book and like, hey, what should I do next? And so just the action of actually doing it, and you'll run through problems, you'll solve some of them, some of them you won't be able to solve. The actual doing of it creates the next questions and the next answers that you're gonna come across.
Yeah. And so like right now I'm trying to become a pro gamer. And I'm like, okay, I'm obviously right now. Like, if my side quest is I want to be a pro gamer.
What game?
Right now, I play 2 games. One of them is Mobile Legends Bang Bang. If you're out there, add me. It's just Ike's Sandwiches with an apostrophe, capital I and then capital S. There's a space. Add me. I'll add you back. And then another one I play is Plunder Pirates. But what I would like to do, because I play the games anyway, and so my own logic is if I'm going to play anyway, I might as well. And so my ideas were, well, I can stream it. But then I got banned for life on TikTok because apparently I talk too much smack, or when I'm interacting with the audience, they like to ask questions about that I guess are inappropriate, and I answer them.
So TikTok fans get.
I'm banned for life on TikTok Live. So I had to actually create a new account and get my way up to 1,000 followers. I just did my second live, and now I'm like, okay, I can't say anything about being an international sex symbol, and I can't answer questions about women because I still talk a lot of smack, but I don't think it's the.
So there's an algorithm they don't like it, or it's like.
Yeah, it told me. They said they thought I was trying to sell sex on the internet. Like, imagine playing a video game and then they're like, "Oh no, you're a prostitute." Actually,
I see
instead.
what you're saying.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, go back and watch the videos, and they're like, no, you clearly were trying to sell sex, and I was like, no, okay. So for me, it's like, okay, right now I'm going into, and now with AI, I'm just like, hey, okay, I want to play these characters. What's the equipment I need to get? What's the style of play I should play? And then I use that. I'm getting better. Like, the last season, I finished with my highest rank ever. Okay. And it's not a coincidence because I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so what do I need to do? And then using the resources at hand. I'm not a professional. Like, I've made a little bit of money, and by a little bit, I mean like less than $100 in my life off of it. So it's not zero, but I would like to, if I'm going to play anyway.
The path, but yeah. I like the process that you're going through is really interesting because we see the process of what it takes to be successful at something that you actually love.
Yes, because you're going to do it anyway. So again, I'm not saying go out and find something that you love and then try to make money from it. I'm saying you already do the things that you love based on results. You love them because you're doing them, or they're at least important, like, say, brushing your teeth. My next goal is to make money while I'm brushing my teeth, like literally not while I'm brushing my teeth, but like for brushing my teeth. Like, hey, here's Ike's toothbrush 2 minutes. Anybody want to have one question? It costs $5 or whatever, and get everybody to pay $1 to watch it. Like, if Elon Musk or whatever, or Richard Branson was like, hey, I'm going to brush my teeth. It's going to cost you $1, and you can ask a question. I'll answer one person's question. He'll get $1 million, right? Like, or whatever. He'd get $10,000 for brushing his teeth, and he'll answer one person's question. And I feel like if you had a question, you'd pay $1. I'd pay $1, and hopefully he answers my questions.
Actually, it's funny because one of the coaches, like the Ryan Pineda, that we're more friends with, he really likes to golf, right? He's like, how can I turn golf into like the money making thing? Exactly. So he's like, you know what? There's like golf with Ryan, like pay me $5,000, $7,000, he can golf with me. And so he turned to like a little business side quest where he's getting paid for some mentoring and coaching on the golf course, but it actually is just because he's gonna golf anyway and he enjoys doing it. So it's just like, I just thought about that, but like you did the same thing but for your entire life.
Yeah. And actually, so the same thing. Before I moved to New Orleans to open up the Ikes there, I was like, I'm gonna go to New Orleans and I'm gonna go eat. I want people to pay me to travel and eat. So I put together a basically the same thing that you're saying Ryan did with his golf is I did something called Food and Philosophy.
Okay.
You're gonna pay me $5,000. And I'm going to take you to my 6 favorite restaurants, and I'm going to give you 6 lessons while we eat. Okay. So I've done that 4 times for $5,000 a person. So obviously it pays for my trip, it pays for the food and all, and the food's included in the deal. So you pay $5,000, and I'm going to take you to my favorite restaurants, and you can order whatever you want, and you can ask me whatever you want. And I also have 6 lessons that I curate, and we focus on, like, you might want to fix your body, somebody else might want to fix their business. It's not limited to business. It's just called Food and Philosophy, and I go through how we can use our 5 senses to create success in the areas that's important to you. And I've done that 4 times, and it was strictly from the idea of, I want to travel in New Orleans, but I don't want to pay. And I want to get paid to travel and eat. So I did that. Then I'm like, I should do it in San Diego. I should do it in Phoenix. Like, where do I want to go? I should do it in Honolulu. Hey, Food and Philosophy with Ike in Honolulu, and put that together. But I used a philosophy that I learned in 2006 just by doing it myself. And now I apply that anytime I do something that I'm already going to do. And how can I do something I'm already going to do and then make money from that?
But it's very interesting because your brain right now is so creative. Like, I think a lot of people have never even like thought of this idea that you can be like get paid for something you love. But what you're saying right now is like, it's not the typical way. It's like you're very outside the box. Like, like you're taking something that you love, but you're thinking of like a very unique or different way of monetizing it. Like turning like the book thing, right? Or like, let's say like the while you brush your teeth to ask questions, or the food and travel is like for the philosophy. So it's like you're pairing it with like a very creative thought in order to make that into like something that pays you money.
Yeah, well, because how you got to get customers, right, or clients. So if I told you, hey, I'm gonna go eat in New Orleans, give me money and I'll tell you about my food later, you'd be like, no, right? And you can see that now, like people totally food. And I don't know how much money food influencers make, but it's likely way more than zero, right? So you could also do that. But to me, I thought, well, not everybody's a food influencer, but there's so many food influencers. Why you should listen to me now? Yeah, I probably have a higher level of trust from an audience when it comes to food. If I go to a sandwich place and say it's great, you'll probably want to eat there, right? So, but I was like, that's already there, and likely it's not going to cover my trips. So I was like, how can I get people to pay me to go and eat? And I was like, oh, I know people ask me for my time all the time. People ask Ryan for, like, he's going to go golf anyway. You might as well make $5,000 golfing, right? Instead of going negative while you're golfing. Like, best case scenario is I go out places and they give it to me for free. So, but usually I have to pay to eat, and usually I have to pay to get on the plane and pay for the hotel. So whatever it is that somebody likes to do, there's at least 3 ways to make money from there. And then after you come up with 3 ways to make money, how I do it now, like today with new ideas, is I let myself think of ideas and then I go, hey, AI, how can I make this idea better? And so we all have these resources. Like anybody who's listening right now can do this already. Go through, if you're like, oh, I don't know, great, write down what you know and then feed that to AI and then you get a better idea. You tell it to refine it if you don't trust yourself. But the first step is moving in that direction.
Just put it down paper and meeting, right?
Because then after you do that a bunch of times, like the first time I did that for the 37 things, it took me like 3 months to come up with 100 ideas to make money off of that list. 3 months. Now, if I make a list, it'll take me like an hour to come up with 100 ideas because I'm training my brain to find ways to do this.
To think in that and how I do that late. Because it's interesting, when you came with that, when you were talking the first time, I thought it just took you like an hour to come up.
No, it took me 3 months.
3 months, but that, just because like your brain's not trained to think in that pattern yet.
Well, for me. And so when I started that list, in like February of 2006. I didn't actually open up Ike's until Halloween of 2007 because there were roadblocks. There were things that go out there and like, oh, I don't know this. I get depressed. I've been in all those places where I feel like I'm a loser.
The obstacle
shows up and I'm like, whatever. But the key to picking things that you love to do based on what you're already doing, not what you say you love, is that I'm not gonna like stop hanging out with. If there's a cat, I'm gonna try to pet it. If there's like at night and I have free time, I'm gonna pick my phone up and play the game. So you just pick things that you're already doing, which means you love them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing them, or you find high value in them, like brushing your teeth. I don't love brushing my teeth, but I'm gonna do that twice a day, sometimes more, almost every single day for the rest of my life. So it doesn't matter how stressed out I get. I might be like, oh, I'm so pissed off I'm not going to brush my teeth today, not because of that, but of other things, right? But I'm still going to brush my teeth twice tomorrow, even if I skip it yesterday. It doesn't matter how down I get. So if you use that as the barometer, you're always going to be alive. You're always going to have energy. You're not going to quit long-term snuggling your dog. You might be mad and you don't want to like give that much effort today.
There's certain things in our business that I really enjoy doing when I don't focus on it. I think like if I were to tap into like those things that I really enjoy, that I call it have to do, I think you would actually give you more energy. But I really need to make a list and see like, hey, what are the things that I actually do enjoy, and spend some time processing that list to see like, do I actually enjoy it and why, you know?
And another use that this list has is 37. And I did it pretty recently because I was in a down funk. Like by recently, maybe like 8 months ago, I was like, oh, man, I'm not inspired. And so I made a new list, because the thing about having this list is anytime you're down, just make this list of what you already love to do and then just start doing them. So for me, I made this new list and I was kind of like blocked, and I wrote down 18 things on this list of this new list of things that I love to do. And then I was feeling down. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start doing something on this list every day. And anytime I felt bad, I'm just going to pick anything on the list and do it. And quickly, like 4 days, I went from, I don't want to say depressed, but I was in a funk for like 4 months, 5 months, and in 4 days it was cured just by going back to this list, creating this new list. So then another thing that list was useful for is when you're down, just do these things, because then I started feeling inspired again, because all of a sudden I'm doing these things.
It can't be too mad too very long if you're after starting kids.
Yeah, it's like
how
literally I was like, okay, where's the closest petting zoo? And there was they had goats and a bunny, and like I went there and I was like, all right, and then petting them, and like 20 minutes later I'm like, oh, you guys are so cute. Like if you saw me, you'd be like, Ike is just chilling in a petting zoo like with a rabbit, and it was they had a ferret and two like goats, baby goats, and I'm like hanging out, and then I'm like, thank you guys, and thank you for making me happy, and give him like a hug, and then I left, and I was like, wow, I feel really good. And it was something as simple as hanging out with some animals, because I know I like that. And I was like, okay, where's the petting zoo? Like, where's the petting zoo? Oh, there's one 30 minutes. Fine, I'm gonna go and get in the car. And
I mean, I really love how you have a quick like thought process to process it and then action. But it's like, hey, like let's make a list of things, let's figure it out, and let's do it. I feel like there's a very short time frame between your thoughts to like what you think in your head and to actually like get it done. You know?
Yeah, and it's gonna train yourself over time. You'll get really good at it. It'll become second nature. You might not even need to write down the list, although I believe write things down so you don't forget. Instead of going, I don't remember, was 18 things. I have my list on my phone. I pull it out. If I'm feeling bad, I'm like, okay, every time I talk to so-and-so, I call them, and then we're going to laugh. Like it's like calling my brothers on the list.
I'm gonna make this list. Can you give me your top 10 to you?
Top 10? All right. So obviously eating, cooking. So those two things. What I love to do is cook and then be like, well, and have people come over. So it wouldn't be like just cooking, although for myself I would. I'd be like, hey guys, I'm cooking tonight or I'm cooking tomorrow. Everybody come over. Don't bring anything. I'll bring food. Like, don't bring anything. Literally, I'll have enough food. And then throwing a party for like 8 people or something, where I'm gonna cook. Like even preparing the menu for that, I feel good. Like, I'm like, oh, what am I going to cook? Oh, well, Jessica's vegetarian. Oh, and Daniel hates rice or whatever. And I'm like, so I'll write out like, okay, let me make a menu for these people and then cook it. And it'll probably take me the whole process of doing it and shopping and all that is probably like a 10-hour ordeal. But to me, it's not work. I enjoy it. So I'll go to the store and get the stuff and then research a recipe. And like, I'm like, oh, I saw Gordon Ramsay made this really good, chicken soup or whatever. I'm going to make the chicken soup. He needs dill and all these other things. And like really do research on it. Like it's not, let me just think about it. Like, and so that's one of the things on the list. Obviously it says snuggling animals. I love kittens, but like whatever, small and fuzzy, I love them. But I do also have a soft spot for goats too. So I do like goats. Having deep conversations with somebody, like laughing with my brother. Like I would, if my brother doesn't know this, maybe I should tell him. Like if I call him, it's because I'm like, I want to laugh. if it's not something specifically for business. Yeah. So those things. What else? Cooking, eating, feeding people. Oh yeah. So sometimes if I'm feeling bad, I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go play a match real quick on the phone or something, or do that. I really attempt to, like, when I'm looking at what I want to do to make myself feel better, not to do something that I would do that's not on the list. Like, say if I'm like, oh, let me go get advice from a friend, but that isn't a friend that I have on this list, then I'm not going to be like, well, let me call so-and-so because they're smart. If that person doesn't inspire me, from a feeling better, then I'm not gonna reach out to that person, because for me, then it's like using them as a crutch versus something that's actually gonna recharge me. Sure, if I called fill in the blank celebrity and chatted with them a little bit, I might be like, yeah, I know fill in the blank celebrity, and I had a good conversation with them. But if they're not on this list, then I'll get off the phone and then be like, oh well, I still feel down after an hour of cooling off or whatever. So the goal is to be inspired and do the things that inspire, and then your the natural resonance of your body or vibration or whatever people want to call that will just feel better. On the way over here, I was talking to somebody because I've been, like I said, I was down a few months ago, and he was like, hey, last time I talked to you, you were a little bit down, and he's like, what did you solve? And I was like, actually, I don't even remember the day that I no longer felt bad anymore. I just knew that I didn't feel bad anymore. So, and that's the same thing. It's you just do these things, and then you won't even remember that you felt bad anymore because you'll just not feel bad.
It's like the natural way to just make your your energy different, or to feel better, or to enjoy your life more.
Yeah, and in fact, for sure, like I didn't still make a solution for anything that I was feeling bad about. I just don't feel bad anymore,
It's
even though there's no
unrelated, but it's
solution.
just
Yeah,
like, I just genuinely enjoy this.
yeah, because he asked me if I solved the problem, and I was like, actually, I don't think I did, but I don't need to now because I mean, yeah, I want the solutions solved. I want the problem solved, but I don't need the problem to be solved for myself to feel better.
I think that's like a really powerful point for anybody who's going through like a challenge, especially an entrepreneur, is that sometimes the best solution to a problem is not actually solving the problem, but it's having a different perspective or outlook on it. Where like you can just see like, actually in this scheme of things is actually a small problem that will overcome eventually. And then now your energy is refocused and you can actually tackle the rest of the things that were kind of like being held back because you're like so focused on this one thing you feel like you can't solve.
Yeah, because the thing is it whether it's solvable or not, that's not the actual problem. The problem is that I wasn't feeling powerful, and so I wasn't going out and living life inspired, and thus I was creating less things and enjoying life less. Versus now I'm like, oh, problem's not solved yet. Okay, well, it actually looks like the problem is just going to take money. All right, let's just go make some money then. Or it looks like I have to do something maybe I don't want. All right, fine, I'll go. How about this instead? Or how about this instead? Or how about this instead? Instead of not having any solutions at all for it, which is like, oh man, I need $10 million. Where am I going to get that from?
Because you're like either a downward spiral or like an upward spiral. So like when you're having going through your list of things you enjoy doing, you're like in this upward spiral where you're just more creative, you have more energy, you're able to solve these problems better because you're able to think clearly and just have like more focus on it too.
The biggest self hack is that list. And my list is gonna be like, I'm gonna write down 37 things, and you probably will only have like 2 things that are similar. But your list is gonna inspire you just as much as my list inspires me. So if you create this list, anybody out there, create this list anytime. This is your life hack. This is where you're gonna be the most genius, the most creative. This is where you're gonna love the most. This is where you're gonna vibrate the most. This is like whatever positive feelings you have. You like to feel, this is that. This is like literally your connection to your billions of dollars in this planet. If you worry about money, this is where it is. If you're worried about your body, this is where your genius is. If you're worried about relationships, it's all here. So whatever's important to you, it's on this list right now, and you being able to be the best version of yourself too. And the added bonus is you'll probably find ways to make millions of dollars off this list, because you're going to want to do it anyway. And then anytime you're down, just look at this list. It's like, I have the list in my pocket, and I'll pull it out. I have a list of my goals in my pocket. In fact, I'm going to show it to you real quick. I'm not going to show you the list, but I'll show you the list, like without the things that are on the list. And it's so raggedy. Look, it's like falling apart in my pocket, and I have it here. In fact, I have the $1 bill just so I can hold it, so I can hold my list together. Because the thing is, it's not about... even though I have a picture of it, so if I want to actually read it out loud, I can. But it's like I just go I'm feeling bad. I'm gonna look at this and be like, oh yes, and then I'm just gonna move my mind right now to that thought or that I think, or I'm gonna call a person, or start feeling the energy of that or remembering that.
That list, I think you did on the list too, right? You can't just remember what you actually did, like remembering the feeling of snuggling that kitten or whatever it is.
Exactly, and we can feel everything right now. In fact, some of the more than half of this list I've already accomplished. It's been in my pocket for like 4 years. More than half the list I've already accomplished. And so when I look at the list, I'm like, oh, I already accomplished that one. Like, I just feel good right now, even like not even looking at the list, just remembering my list and going, oh, I already did that one. There was one thing on the list that like literally exactly what I said I wanted to happen happened exactly how I wanted to happen it. And I remember the moment that it happened, and I was like, oh my God, this is on my list. And like anytime I think about, oh, well, this is going to be hard, I'm like, remember that one thing that you thought and you were like, you said this is going to happen exactly like this, and then it did. And it's so great, like it's so out of the ordinary. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, all right, yeah. So now anything can happen. It's whatever it is for you, you'll realize that you have more control over your life than you even think. And if you're already like a superhero person in your life, when you're down, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm a superhero. Like, I know a lot of great people that have accomplished great things. Yeah, but those people still have, like, I have my downtimes. You have your downtimes. all the special people in your life have the downtimes too. And just be like, dude, pull out your list and remember that thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Like anytime I'm down, I just remember something from my list that I've already accomplished.
I'm gonna make a list tonight. I think.
Yes,
Alright,
show
so-
me that list. Yes, unless unless it's you don't have to share it, but
yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, like black out something.
yeah, exactly. Redacted. Yeah, if I showed you my new list or I showed you my new like goals, I'm like, redacted. Yeah.
But so like going back to the story, how did you choose like sandwich shop?
Oh yeah. So it was that was a long time ago, right? So immediately I was like, I can't do an actual restaurant. I need to do counter service. So as I was looking through that, I go, okay. So the cheapest way to do it is you walk up to me, you give me your order, you give me your money, and then I make you your food. That's the least expensive option. So I was like, okay, well, what could I do on that scale? So I already love sandwiches. So I knew sandwiches were going to be a part of the menu. And I like breakfast food too. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do breakfast. I'm going to do sandwiches. So that'll be lunch. And then I was like, dinner. Well, I'll do dessert. And then if somebody wants dinner, they can do a sandwich too. And then I was like, no, you know what? I hate that places don't do breakfast all day. So I'm going to do breakfast all day, sandwiches all day, and dessert all day. That was going to be my menu. Then I added salads because I was like, oh, it's California, I like salads. And then coffee, like a full espresso bar. And then the place that I bought was an ice cream shop.
So did you rent it or buy it? Like it was like
I bought the business, but the space was leased.
okay.
And then I was like, oh, well, the rent was $900 in San Francisco a month, $900 a month.
That's like awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, right? So it's probably good for almost anywhere. And so I was like, oh, well, that's low risk. So then I was like, all right, so there's low risk. It's a smaller spot, so it's okay if I'm the only person working there. And then everything that I just said, coffee. Oh, and so it was a dessert shop. So then we had ice cream. They already had their own ice cream from a local brand in San Francisco that I actually grew up eating because it was like it was within a 15-minute walk of where I grew up. Like, so I remember as a 12-year-old, I would walk there and get ice cream from this small brand called Pollyann in San Francisco. So I was like, oh, and I like that ice cream. That was my favorite ice cream growing up. Okay, perfect. So I had milkshakes, ice cream, sandwiches, breakfast, salads, and coffee. That was my menu. Then I opened up and had that.
A big menu.
It's a big menu, right? So then as people were coming in the beginning, we were only selling breakfast. Like, we'd be busy. We don't have that many seats, like 16 seats, but it'd always be busy for, like, all the seats would be packed for breakfast.
Okay. And you just like were cooking like stuff, like eggs or rice, bacon.
I was just making breakfast sandwiches basically, but on bagel, I made bagels and cream cheese.
Was it like
croissants,
icing, or do you just start putting them together?
I was toasting the sandwiches.
So there's no grill or anything.
We have this like convection oven that I was cooking the eggs in and frying the bacon or the ham or the veggie. We had veggie bacon and stuff like that. So I had those, and then we'd make little croissant sandwiches, little egg and ham or egg and whatever, and then we'd send that out. And then we had coffee, so that was basically the breakfast. We did bagels and cream cheese and bagel sandwiches and things like that. So that was when I first opened. And we would always be busy for that, and then we weren't busy for lunch, even though we still had the Ike sandwiches. And then I saw that as I started getting the sandwiches in people's mouths, those were the ones that people were talking about. We're talking about word of mouth advertising earlier. So I was like, wait, you didn't come in and eat my croissant sandwich and go, oh, it's the best croissant sandwich I've got. I mean, it's egg and cheese and whatever. It's good, obviously. But when people would eat the sandwiches, they would talk about it. And back then it was 2007. So the beginning of like Yelp was, I didn't even know what Yelp was in 2007. But when Yelp was the key player in that, Twitter was new-ish. Facebook was, MySpace was still a thing back then. Facebook was just becoming, becoming more in the lexicon. Instagram wasn't even in existence yet. And so I saw, okay, I give you a sandwich, and then you would write a review about it. Then I found out what Yelp was because we were number one on Yelp in the whole city of San Francisco. And then I'm like, oh, hey, eat this sandwich, and then you tell me you love it. And then I started asking for people to leave reviews. But so then when I saw that people were leaving reviews and it was all sandwiches, I was like, okay, now I need to go from this big menu to just selling sandwiches. Not because I didn't like the other items, but because nobody was talking about my coffee. Nobody was talking about my ice cream. Definitely nobody said, but got a salad 5 stars.
Really interesting, I think, conversation because this is what as a risk investor, I get shiny opportunity all the time, right? I'm like, I want to try this, I want to try this, and people always know just focus on the things you're really good at. But what you did was you experimented with like, a lot of different things to start with, and you found one that just like was rising above the rest. And then you took all your energy and you're like, hey, let's get over all the distractions and focus on this one thing that I know is killing it, but just crank it up to like a 10x level.
Yeah. Now, these days in 2025, 24, I'm like, okay, I already know the sandwich is going to be a hit. So now, because I have more knowledge now, I know, hey, I can add donuts there because it isn't about. It's now more about. I realize all I have to do is to get people to talk about the donuts is just ask you to talk about the donuts. In 2020, which is something I started doing in 2024 because I was having a down period. I was like, what inspires me? Okay, I opened New Orleans and I'm opening Kona because on my list, those places inspired me. The islands out here inspire me. Before I opened up Ike's, I was out here in Honolulu living Waikiki on lures, and that inspired me to go and become a business person, like just with my time here and connecting and being in the water and seeing everything. So I was like, I'm going to open up in New Orleans and I'm going to open up in Hawaii. And normally, like the conventional thinking would be, well, why would you do that? I have nothing past the Mississippi at all. So I'm going to go to New Orleans and open there. This logistically is way out of the way to come do something here. But the thing is I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the inspiration. Now, obviously, I expect to make money, and we're making money in New Orleans, and I'm expecting to make money here. But the goal is for the inspiration, because in inspiration, you're a genius, you're creative. And so I started Ike's Donuts last year on my birthday, March 26th, so I just had a birthday, which is when I announced I was opening up in Kona, another surprise for my birthday. And even opening the donuts, people are like, why are you opening up donuts? That's a dumb idea. And then the same day that I announced last year that I was opening a donut shop, and I opened my first donut shop, the same day McDonald's announced that they were going to bring Krispy Kreme to every single location by like 2028. So I went from I went from my peer group saying, why are you not focusing like what, you're dumb, to, oh my gosh, you're a genius. How did you know what McDonald's was going to do? So the thing is, it's all about perception. I wasn't a genius all of a sudden now because McDonald's is going to do it. And if I didn't do it, didn't mean McDonald's was dumb to do it, right? Because I was doing it based on inspiration. And when you do that, worst case scenario is you feel inspired. Like that doesn't sound like that bad of a thing.
Don't make money. It's like you're happy that you're enjoying, number one, but number two is that you're unlocking a frame grade where you can be way more productive somewhere else because you're inspired.
Yeah, and now that I'm selling donuts and I open up an apothecary in New Orleans, which I'm going to open up in Kona too, is now I know from what I had before is, okay, if I give you this Mai Taiba with herbs instead of alcohol, and it for focus and for health and these things, and you drink it and you're like, oh, that was good. Now I know just from experience, if I asked people to review my breakfast sandwiches, I'm sure they would have, because I would have just asked. Not everybody, but I'm like, hey, I would love it if you would leave a review, and then you would start leaving reviews. So now I'm just using that, and I'm only selling the things that I want to sell, and which is why this list again is so genius for anybody to come up with, because not only is it your genius, but if you focus on, like, if you took anything from this conversation, is you do this list, you find your money on this list, you find your inspiration on this list. In fact, this list should be the only way that you seek to have a career or generate any kind of income, whether it's another revenue stream or your main revenue stream. Because it doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter what you sell. All it matters is that you sell what you want to sell. So if you sell what you want to sell, then you'll be great at it. And that's why I do the donuts and the apothecary, because I want to sell them. My potential, yeah, sure, I can probably sell them for $100 million if they hit. So there's high upside. But like, say even if I wasn't Ike from Ike's, and I just wanted to start, well, I know that it worked. It worked when I was not Ike from Ike's to create Ike's, right? So I can't say it's not going to work now at donuts. It might not work, but I can't say it doesn't. And then somebody that's like, but Ike, you're already successful. But I wasn't when I started the list. That's the whole thing. I was not special. Wasn't successful until I did the list and until I went through the list and did that. And if I can do it, Because me back then, like, okay, maybe I was thoughtful enough to think that, but I wasn't anything special back then.
I mean, like I look at you now, like you're so successful, right? Like 120 locations, that you're becoming a programmer, all these cool things. But at a certain point in 2006, you're just like a normal person, like working at Victoria's Secret and a bar.
The Trader Joe's and a bartender, yeah, and selling real estate.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
see that transformation from 2006 to 2024. But it's like I see the thought process in your brain, like the way you've done it, but I feel like it's very duplicatable. Like somebody else could do the same thing. They might have like less success or more success, but like that, the thought process or the pattern is like it's a proven way to kind of to succeed.
Yeah. And especially so a lot of people might not know this, but within 3 years of me opening up Ike's, we got shut down by the city. The government said they wouldn't give us a permit. I accidentally got every single permit except for one permit. And so we applied for the permit and the city said, no, you can't. You can't.
Was this the only location?
Well, I had one location. Well, I had one location with a few that I was building. And so it went all the way to the California Supreme Court, and the judge, California Supreme Court, said, if you sell date past, fill in the blank date, I don't remember the day, I think it was August 10th. If you do that, we're going to arrest you for being in contempt of court. So imagine being arrested for selling sandwiches. So my business at the time was doing about $3 million a year, a little bit more than that, and I had to close it overnight, like literally overnight. $3 million business, nothing, because of a permit. And not saying that that's bad or whatever. So for me, if this list wasn't inspiring to me, I would have been like, oh well, there I'm gone. That's it. Let me do something else or go work for other people. But because I was inspired, even though I got punched in the face, like figuratively, lost $3 million in revenue, I was like, all right, well, let me see how much money I have in my bank account. Cool. I'm gonna open up another restaurant. Like literally, I just went to my bank account and opened up another restaurant. And got a loan, and then I opened a restaurant, and then got another loan and opened a second one. And then within like 3 months, I had 3 locations. I went from 1 to 0 to 3. And the thing is it's only because it was on my list of inspiration. If it wasn't, I would have given up, right? If you had something and you didn't like doing it, you were only doing it for the money, and then it's like not there anymore, you'd be like, oh, well, okay, that was good while it lasted. I'm glad I got a bunch of money in my bank account, and then what's the next hustle, right? For me, the next hustle was the list again. So I just went back and I opened up another restaurant, and then I opened another one. In fact, I went from 1 to 0 to 3 so fast that the media wrote an article about me, calling me a hydra, saying like, when you chop off one head, 2 grew. And I remember going, that's one of the best compliments I ever received in my life in 2010. I'm going to Google that, like print that up, blow it up and put it on my wall. Like anytime I feel like it's bad, I went from 1 to 0 to 3 locations only because of this list. If it wasn't on this list, if I was doing it because, there's good money in it, there wouldn't be Ike's anymore. So that's how even I know, anybody knows that my love for Ike's, or love for cooking, is genuine because I had built-in excuses to quit. And in fact, furthermore with that, the first 5 Ike's, only one of them still exists.
Okay.
So same things like landlord issues, the government shuts me down. One of them, I don't want to talk bad about people because I still maybe try to have relationships with them, but all like no good reasons. Every single location out of the 5 were making really good money, and the reason why they're not in existence now is either legal issues, or the landlord didn't want us anymore, or the city's like, oh, you don't have this, or we try to get shaken down. So again, my first 5 locations, only one of them still exists. You would think that somebody that closed down 4 of their 5 businesses was a loser, right? And maybe I am, but here I am, and now I have 120 instead of 1, right? But it was because it was on my list.
I love that. I mean, like it's such a crazy story to just see like perseverance. And I understand now why the first question is, what's your favorite sandwich at Ike's? I get it from like your perspective, but just to wrap this whole thing up together, maybe someone who's kind of starting out as an entrepreneur, like they're trying to figure out their way, and like they put together their list and they want to get started on like their path of entrepreneurship or business ownership. What's one piece of advice you can give them after they created their list?
So go through the list, and then for each thing, do not stop till you have at least 3 ways that you can make money from the list, and be as creative as you want. Like I was like, I'm going to write a book on how to get women to pay for the first date that I meet online. Like, that's not a realistic idea. In fact, it's so not realistic. Even though I did the project, I didn't make any money on it. But hey, I had fun going on the dates and getting free. I got 100 free meals. So, so that is to go in there and leave your brain off, like turn your brain off and just go and find at least 3 ways per item on how you can make money, generate money, doing these things that you already will do now. And the reason for that and to do 3 is, one, you're never going to know what you're going to come up and create with, but also the practice of doing it, and you're doing it and you're doing it. Say I wrote 37 things, so I wrote down over 121 ways, or whatever the math is, ways to make money. That in of itself was the greatest exercise I've ever done in my life, because now I can use it again. So do that. And if you want a next step from that is, do like 3 of the things on your list, like 3 of the ways to make money. See which one hits. I did sandwiches, I did going on dates, and I did animal blogging. And obviously I'm not an animal blogger. I mean, yeah, I could still be, right? Like these days, I'm sure if I'm like, hey, go on a date with me and pay, I could probably get people to pay for the first date and then write a new book about that. But all the things, it's about the journey of it and learning yourself. So if you do that, that's the next step. But you actually have to do them to see which one's going to hit for you. And if you do them, and if I did all 100 and something things, I bet you, I should go find my list of the 100 whatever ways to make money, because I bet you if I did all of them, not only would I make a lot of money, I'll have at least a lot of fun.
And no guarantee.
Yeah, it's like, all right, guys, so for another 3 months, I'm going to be a gigolo again. And I had this business called Hot Date for Hire, the number 4, hotdateforhire.com. And it's where I was like, you needed to make your boyfriend jealous, I'll go on a date with you, and this is how much it costs. Oh, I had a nice car back then. I had a 75 Stingray, and also had an SL 500, which is my cousin's car. I'm like, we'll pick you up. This is the cost. If it wasn't 2006 or whatever, I bet you, like, if it was in the middle of the internet age, like right now, it would be like clowning people. It would be a thing, and then people would be like, oh yeah, I saw so and so with the girl. Oh, it's probably because it was from Hot Date for Hire or whatever. Like, I feel like somebody wants to steal that idea. Go for it right now. Maybe I'll do that. Hot Date for Hire again. But I did that too, and that was so much fun, and I got to get paid to go on a bunch of dates. It wasn't long term sustainable because it's not scalable because it's just me. But then I started getting like my sister, my brother, my lady friends, my guy friends, like, all right, everybody, we're all going to go on dates with people for money. And then people were like, wait, doesn't that make you like a pimp? And I was like, I guess.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, dude, so inspiring, so much like great nuggets here today. But if you want to reach out to you or find out more about you, what's the best place to do it?
The best way to go is you can find me on every social media thing. It's at Ike Shehadeh on literally everything. You can find me there. And then, or you can go to learnfromike.com, learnfromike.com. You can find when the food and philosophy is. You can find, I do a weekly Q&A every Wednesday. And you can just come on out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, bro. Appreciate having you on.